Well, I don't know if you saw the all-out brawl just before halftime between the Gators and Missouri over the weekend, but that's cost Florida a couple of players who've been suspended for the first half of the game with Georgia, and it's gotten some pretty harsh words from the SEC towards Dan Mullen. I'm going to go over this right now for you. D. Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Here's the comment from the SEC. This is a direct quote from their statement. There is no place in college football for the kind of incident that took place at the half of the Missouri at Florida game Saturday night. Everyone involved is responsible for meeting sportsmanship standards throughout each game. Running on the field to confront a game official, a gathering of teams in an on-field confrontation, and student athletes throwing punches are all disappointing at any time, but even more so as we work through to support healthy competition during a pandemic. That's a quote from Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC. In addition, the statement from the league goes on to say, Florida head coach Dan Mullen has been issued a reprimand by the Southeastern Conference and fined $25,000 for violating SEC bylaws governing sportsmanship following Saturday's football game between Missouri and Florida. And the rule at the bottom is quoted by the league as well, saying, fighting in any attempt by a player, coach, or squad member in uniform to strike an opponent in a combative manner unrelated to football, yada, yada, yada. Will this have any effect on Georgia's game with the Gators? Doesn't seem like it to me. Now, you do have a Florida player, a starter, I think, who will be out. That's Zach Carter. It's one of their defensive linemen. He's not a bad player at all. And the Gators need as many guys on the defensive line as they can against this Georgia offensive line that they're going to be confronting. To me, so I don't really participate a lot in the there's a lot of vitriol towards Dan Mullen because he's Florida's head coach. I don't know him personally or anything like that. I think that stuff gets overblown sometimes. But you can't do what happened Saturday night. And, first of all, this began with Kyle Trask getting hit late. The Missouri players that hit him, that was a late hit. I was watching it live and I'm trying to remember, I do not think there was a flag thrown. Okay, so that's probably an issue. But as a coach and just as a competitor and as a human being, you can't go flying off the rails. And that's what happened Saturday night. And I understand that, Mullen may well have thought it was a cheap shot. He may have thought it was dirty. It was certainly late. There's no doubt about that. But what you can't do is make something worse. And that would have made things worse. It sort of reminded me a little bit of Georgia-Florida in 2007 when Georgia's entire team came onto the field. But there wasn't a fight that happened during that. That was dangerous. This was more dangerous. And I think that, that was 13 years ago at this point. Now, we're in a different era in this league. There's more attention than ever on the SEC. Obviously, Dan Mullen's a head coach now, not like he was not in 2007 as an assistant at Florida. You just can't have that. It's a bad look for the institution. The University of Florida is a great institution, and the football team is the biggest spotlight in that entire university system. And you cannot have your leader, the leader of your team, the leader of your program, the most visible person in many ways in the state from a national perspective, because most people don't know that Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, but a lot of people know who Dan Mullen is. And so you can't have that. And what it looked like to me was he was pretty aggressive with the officials in a way that delayed the teams to go into the locker room. And then once everything's settled, this was the part that was kind of the worst to me, was when he comes back out after it's all settled and done, and he starts waving his hands up to get the swamp going. It shows that you were still not quite in your right mindset when you're going into the half. Being that emotional is never good. very few people are John McEnroe and can do the nutty stuff and then back it up. Most humans can't be that way. That night, Florida, the Gators, they had a better team than Missouri. They were not playing well. It was a late hit. But the result of the late hit turned out to be really bad for Florida at the end of the day. Losing a defensive starter for a half is bad. And also it gives people something to talk about. This has been a bad couple of weeks for Dan Mullen. If they lose to Georgia, it will be an even worse time for him. So the spotlight is not ideal all the time. This was a bad look for him, a bad look for the Gators, and a bad look for the SEC, because it wasn't just Florida that was in that fight. Missouri was in it too. And they've got some guys suspended for the Georgia game as well. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you sign up for this newsletter. It's right up here. A lot of people are signing up for it. It's our insider newsletter. I mean, no wonder they're signing up for it. You should too. Check it out right now. We'll see you over on the website.